Începem acum prima zi de Future Banking cu un subiect pe care cred că nu greșesc dacă îl consider fundamental pentru activitatea oricărei bănci, pentru că înainte de orice transformare digitală avem nevoie de core banking. De asemenea, sper că ați băut o cafea tare, pentru că s-ar putea să intrăm în niște detalii puțin mai tehnice, însă mă bazez pe Constantin Spiridon, IT Area Lead pe Core Banking în cadrul ING Tech România, că ne va dezvălui din secretele Core Banking-ului pe înțelesul tuturor. Bine ai venit, Constantin!
Bine v-am găsit! I will speak in English. So, as Răzvan presented, I'm Constantin Spiridon. I'm IT area lead for the core banking domain in ING Tech. And after this presentation, you will get a glimpse of how the core banking part of the bank influences and applications influences the digital transformation of both classics, but also the rebels that came before them. So basically, what is the playing field? I guess that most of you know what the core banking system is, but to be on the safe side, basically the core banking application is the system that, as the name suggests, stands at the heart of the bank and at the heart of the architecture. Here, all the accounts are stored, the current accounts, the loans, credits are stored there. We perform interest calculations and process transactions, and then we export this information to the accounting and in other processes of the bank. Just to get a glimpse, currently in the world there are about $85 trillion of deposits from the clients in the banks, and all of this money end up get registered in the core banking system. Also, there are about 650 billion transactions processed each year that, of course, all of them end up also in the core banking system. My experience with the core banking starts in 2001 when I started as a developer for a bank. Then that was basically the main system of the bank. And at that time, it was a big achievement for a bank to have a centralized core banking, where basically you could go in whatever branch of the bank and be able to access your accounts from each branch. Now, it's quite funny to discuss about this, because now the expectation of the customer is to be able to access your accounts anytime, everywhere, 24/7. Also, I remember that when you have to make a transaction, you had to fill in a paper, then give it to a branch teller. The branch teller went to the core banking system, input some information, and then if your friend was at another bank, which you wanted to transfer money, it took a couple of days or more. And now the expectation basically for this is that the transaction should happen instantly. So in the meantime, also a lot of other players came into play that I will call them rebels. But now let's discuss about the classics. Because what is amazing from the story that I just told, basically many of the banks have the same core banking system that they did in 2001. Of course, they did some upgrades. They moved some of the functionalities of the application to other systems because they wanted to leverage from the richness of functionalities that appeared after that. From a single system or 10 systems that the bank had, the architecture usually ballooned to 50 to 100 systems. So, but in the end, the core banking system remained the same. There have been probably some upgrades, but in essence, there is the same for many of the banks, there is the same core banking system that was engineered for a world that we no longer live in. So I read a statistic that in US, 40% of the banks still have their core banking system developed in COBOL, which is a programming language created like 60 years ago, when we live in a world that expects streaming analytics, cloud nativeness, and boundaryless information flow. So now, in the meantime, as I said, the customer expectations changed a lot. Also, after the 2008 crisis, a lot of the regulatory burden starts to fall on the bank. So that created a lot of pressure on the bank to be able to be more agile, to come with better products to the customer, faster products, while fulfilling the regulations. And that put a pressure a lot on the costs. They needed to invest a lot more money. And in many times, we cannot say that the agility grew up, or we could offer the right products to the customers. So based on this, it's no wonder that when Temenos did a survey a couple of years ago, Temenos is a major core banking system supplier. So they wanted to investigate and to see how what are the priorities of investment of the banking leads in the IT systems. And they found out that actually the core banking is the first priority for all of them, because they perceive it as the main driver for cost effectiveness in the future. And also is very important to leverage also the investments in the other domains. The digital channels came second. So now these traditional banks, these classics, basically face three possible strategies to help them out modernize these systems and improve their digital transformation effectiveness. The first option is basically to take the old core banking and replace it as a big bank with another one. But this involves a lot of risks, because you have to invest, you have to do it as a big bank, you have to migrate all the functionalities at once, you have to invest a lot in data migration. But this can help the banks that have a core banking that is out of support. They can help the banks that have a core banking that is very unstable and they really need to do something. The second strategy that they can employ is a progressive modernization. So that means to start removing functionalities for core banking, putting them in other applications, putting them in a modern architecture that you create around the core banking, based on microservices and with the modern architectural patterns and concepts. And then strip, in the end, the core banking to a basic functionality that then you can easily migrate to a next generation system. This can help the banks that have a core banking system that is still viable, it's in support, is very stable. And the risks here is that you don't achieve immediately, or you achieve on a longer time the effectiveness and the time to market that you need, because this kind of transformation usually take 5 years or more. The third strategy is basically to do to have a totally new architecture proposition for the business proposition for the customer, based on a new stack of technology that uses directly the next generation core banking systems, a new architecture, and so on. And this can be less risky, because you start onboarding the new customers on this, and you can do it in a controlled way. And then you start migrating all the others gradually as this architecture matures, and also you get trust into the system. And I call this the Rebekah Essex. On the other side, the rebels had a different path. So most of them started small. And when they started, there were already these evolutions in place, and they can pick and choose what they use. So they integrated the core banking directly within their architectures, directly within their digital business proposition. And so they benefited a lot from the flexibility and agility. But they also, this was also made possible because they started small. And different rebels, so fintechs have different approaches. And for example, in UK, Monzo thought about core banking that is instrumental for their differentiation in the market. So they started to develop it themselves. And now they are operating a mesh of 1,600 microservices that basically support all the business proposition of the bank. So also the core banking and also the digital channels. Other rebels, like N26 in Germany, they bought a core banking from a next generation core banking supplier called Mambu. And so Atom Bank in UK also used, they initially started with a traditional core banking system, but then they moved to a next generation one quite fast from Thought Machine, an UK startup that it's now developing a core banking system with people that migrated from Google. As also their business proposition will start to increase in terms of the number of products and in terms of the customers and different profiles that they will serve. They will also start to have the same problems as the classics have. Their regulatory burden will increase, and they will also have more and more applications and more products to manage. So they have to keep a very good eye on not becoming their core banking system not becoming the legacy system of 2025. Now, both for the classics and rebels, the future for them and for the core banking looks like this. So the core banking system for whichever of them should be very slim, should be very fast, should perform only the functionalities that are required for it and nothing more, should be highly secure and reliable. And these are basically also things that are on their mind of the rebels. So they will have to increase the investment that they have here, which is something that the classics, many of them solved in the past. Also, a key differentiator between them and the key for success is the engineering culture that you build within the company, because you have to realize that the future of banking now is as technology companies. Also, the classics and the rebels can learn from each other. So classics can learn from the rebels how to streamline their architecture, how to be flexible and agile, how to offer faster products to the customer while leveraging basically on the greater financial power that they have, and also from the fact that they have far more data about their customers to get customer insights. On the other side, the rebels can learn from the classics' past mistakes about how many of them had a lot of legacy systems, and they can avoid these mistakes. They can also learn from them how to manage a large pool of customers and with different expectations, and to have the right processes behind for regulatory processes and so on. While in the meantime, leveraging for their agility and flexibility. So also in the end, I think that both of them can join forces to become stronger together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Constantin. First of all, great presentation. It's a pleasure to have you here. I have a question because I want to know why is it important for a bank like ING to look over all the core systems at the rebels and in Europe, and do you learn from Monzo, N26 and the likes? about how to improve your core banking?
Now, globally in ING, we operate around 10 different core banking systems. Many of the countries have now have all of them the same core banking. Still, there are differences between them. But the idea is that you keep wondering in the end why you should develop the kind of the same basic functionalities times number of countries that you have. So, because in the end, if you do this, the customer in the end will feel it in his pocket because you will be more expensive. And also, you don't fully leverage and pass knowledge from one country to the other. So you basically miss an opportunity for the time to market of some products. So this is why it's important, because there is a big opportunity there to save costs that in the end you can pass to the customers in better products and in the digital channels. And also you miss opportunities because you have to develop the same thing many times.
But do you consider selling the core banking you are developing at ING Tech to fintechs, or is just for internal use and for ING Bank?
We actually don't develop, so we use a product. We are not developing ourselves. We use a product from FIS. It's called Profile. And basically what we do, we take the basic product and then make some adaptations for the country. We operate the system for them. And for us, it's very good to look at the fintechs, how they do it, and so on, because we can learn and apply these same concepts within what we develop every day. We are also considering, we are also investigating next generation core banking systems to see how the future looks like for us. Because we are kind of in the first two strategies right now. We either do big bangs for some of the banks, we either do the gradual modernization and so on.
From a client perspective, how would a core banking look like? I mean, as a client of ING, how would I see and interact with your systems if the core banking is better or worse?
So the best thing for you as a customer is that you won't see the core banking because it's the engine of the bank. And you usually see it in different ways. When it fails, so you get the system is not available. So you go to home bank, and even if the home bank works or other applications work, if the core banking is down, you won't be able to do anything. You also see it more indirect in the agility of the bank when releases new products. Because the core bank stands at the middle of the bank and is not sufficiently agile, then you have always a big impact in this application and in the applications around it. So that means that a bank has to invest a lot in testing, has to invest a lot in these changes, so products are released later.
Great. Thank you very much, Constantin. It was a pleasure having you here at Future Banking.
Yes, it was a pleasure for me too.
See you, and we'll get back after a short break, commercial break.
Thank you.